Secretly recorded from deep inside the bowels of a decommissioned missile silo, we bring you the man, one single man who wants to bring light to the darkness and dark to the lightness. Although he's not always right, he is always certain. So now, with security protocols in place, the protesters have been forced back behind the barricades and the blast doors are now sealed. Without further delay, let me introduce you to the host of Hutcast, Mr. Tim Hutner.
Thank you, Sergeant-at-Arms. You can now take your post. The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the individual and participants. These views and opinions expressed do not represent those of the host or the show. The opinions in this broadcast are not to replace your legal, medical, or spiritual professionals. Happy Sunday. Today on Hutcast, 10/8/2023. It's a beautiful fall Sunday outside the hidden underground bunker. And Hutcast been off the air for a little bit, so we're going to talk about the last couple of weeks. We were out on tour and checking out this great country of ours. So Hutcast will be right back. Stand by in just a moment. Now a word from our sponsors. Today's sponsor in part by Excel Roofing. Excel Roofing, they do it all. Roofs, siding, framing. You need a house? Give Excel a call. I've used these guys personally in the past, have a professional crew, they're conscious of your job, and they want to produce the finest quality of craftsmanship available. Excel Roofing, 763-712-0757. Again, 763-712-0757. Excel Roofing, Dayton, Minnesota. Welcome back to Hutcast. It is a beautiful Sunday. Been off the air, like I said, in pre-roll for a little bit, and I wanted to get out in the country and meet some people, meet some individuals, meet some interesting individuals. Where did we start this trip? Okay, so we get in this vehicle and we start traveling this country. We've been everywhere from Iowa, Minnesota, North and South Dakota, Nebraska. We have been all over this country, and that's just the center part of the country. But I wanted to start this vacation with more of a vacation attitude, more to just relax and be out there with the people. What I've noticed out in this world, and I like to say common sense ain't common enough, that still holds true. That is very, very much a true statement, because there's a lot of people that just, they get it and they don't get it. And that's okay, because that's who they are. They're the not getting it's. And these people that are not getting it are the people that service you, the getting it's. Take, for instance, we were in a restaurant, and this is going to be on the Hutcast Hatebook site. View in, check it out. It's pretty intense. And this restaurant had themselves a robot. Now, I know a lot of conservative old school have a big fear of high tech taking over. And I don't think that it's quite going to take over like you think it is in the Terminator, but there's going to be some level of takeover. And we're sitting there enjoying our meal, and along comes this, it looks like a tray, a robot tray, a tray that serves food. Oh, I had to video it. You know I took video of it. I just had to see what this thing was all about. And we were able to interview the guy, or one of the guys of the restaurant that, gave us some information on it. And I'll tell you what, it's kind of a neat gig. Because we've been to other restaurants where this Gen X or this Gen Y or whatever these new guys are, these kids who will do their job like they're supposed to, and then hand you I don't know what you call it, a calculator, a way of payment, the payment receptacle. It's on a stick. We went to a Caribou, and here we ordered 2 coffees, and we're sitting there minding our own gig, and they hand us this little stick after the order, and it says, well, we already paid for our meal, but, well, this is a tip stick. Now, you're probably thinking, what the heck is a tip stick? This stick they hand to you, so you pay your $13 or $14, $8 a cup for a coffee, which is, first of all, insane, but hey, it's trendy. And they hand you this stick that says, hey, we'd appreciate a tip. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out what I would tip them for. Now, I understand a lot of waitresses and a lot of food preparers have tips so that they can supplement their income while they're doing what they do. And she shoved this thing in my face, and she says, hey, in case you want a tip. For what? For you doing your job? This is a drive-through. I'm going to tip you on a drive-through? I didn't feel obligated to tip then. And I'm a big tipper. I'm that guy that tips stupid money for little things. And she gave me that look. That shot her dog look. Like, how dare I? Almost like she was entitled to that tip. Well, I'll tell you what, cheekums. If you think doing your job in a fast food restaurant is going to require a tip for me to go through to your line to buy your products, i.e. Caribou, you got everything coming. Why don't I tip the McDonald's guy? Why don't I tip the Taco Bell guy? Why don't I tip everybody who is simply doing their job and they get paid an hourly wage in a fast food environment? Well, then I hold on, guys. I know what you're thinking. Why tip the gal who brings your food to you in a Ruby Tuesdays or a something? It's a different kind of tip. I see the tip that way as, you did your job, you did your work, you checked up on us, you kept everything going. Was there any issues? Da-da-da-da-da-da. Not, hey, here's $12.95. Oh, by the way, would you like to tip me? Think about that. Think about that for just a second, because that to me doesn't make any sense at all. So when you find yourself in a situation having to tip, and I'm getting back to where I started from, don't freak out on me, then think about what they did for that tip. If they simply did their job and they took your money and sent you a coffee by doing their job, should they really get tipped? Well, the gal was a little upset. I didn't care. I already had the coffee. She couldn't spit in it at that point. Yeah. Now back to the original robot. This thing comes flying by me with 6 or 5 trays on it. It blows past. It sits and waits by the table, and then the waitress comes out and dishes it out. I thought it would just be, here's your grab it. But it's not. This robot come up to us, went by us, looked at us, blew past us. Looked at us. It's kind of a human trait. But it did stop and look at us, which seems kind of odd. The wife says, well, that's kind of rude. I didn't think it was rude at all. I just thought it was funny. And then they just waited. Dumped the plates, went back to the kitchen, reload, go. Pretty groovy. Now, back to my point of why the robot. Look at it this way. If you wanted this Gen Y to stand there and pretty much demand a tip from you for simply doing their job, or would you rather have a robot to come up and drop your grub and go? Well, I guess I know what you're saying. Again, the robot brought the food. The waitress just put it on the table. And did she get tipped? Yes, she got tipped. Because she still did her job beyond what she should have by just handing a cup of coffee to you. Think about that for just a second. When do you tip versus when do you don't tip? I don't know. Do you tip the cashier at Walmart for bagging up your stuff? Well, she's simply there on an hourly gig. Here, you did a great job, so I'm going to tip you. You can, I guess, if that's you. If you're going to start that, then we're going to start tipping everybody in life. You tip your local shop for putting on tires in your car. Oh, thanks for the oil change. Oh, here's another 10 for your trouble. Well, that's their job. If their job is trouble, they need to get a new line of work, or make more, or educate, or whatever they got to do to expect a different tip. Do attorneys get a tip? Tax preparers, they get a tip? No, they send you a bill, you pay the bill, you go back to job and you go do your work. I don't know. It was kind of a weird thing, getting that tip stick shoved in your face and getting the pouty from the gal who simply made you a coffee. What are you supposed to tip? $10 for making a $5 coffee? I don't think so. And then there's the other gal. Oh, yes. I'm going to start this one. The rant of people. The common sense of taking your order. Imagine yourself in a restaurant and this Gen Y comes up. Hello, may I take your order? I'm just being a little facetious there. She wasn't English or nothing. And I says, yes, I'd like the hamburger with fries. Excellent. I stopped and I thought, seems kind of weird. Would there be anything else? How about some green beans? Perfect choice. I'm like, oh, here we go. We got another one of these people. Everything you are on your menu, anything that you want to order, anything that you want to just have hey, I'll take some fries. Excellent. She's got to validate everything you do like it's a really good choice. It's a really good choice. Really? Really? You're going to do that? Every time I want to put something on there? So at that point, I'm just messing with her. Well, I'd like a side of sugar, a packet. Perfect. And I'd like a straw. A straw. Oh my God, it was so sickening. I've only run into this one time in life, and this is twice. What are they teaching these kids? Open your ears, shut your mouth, take your order, do your job, you'll get a tip. Oh boy. So the next time you're out and about and you hear one of these Gen Ys do this to you, excellent, okay, crap on you. I don't know, maybe it's just a cultural thing, maybe it's an age thing. Ask them, please stop validating everything I order, because it just gets annoying. And you don't want to annoy your customer. You want to make them happy in an environment where it's refreshing to be, not to be accosted by their non-common sense comments. I don't know. Check it out. It's insane, the kind of stuff that's going on in the world. And then you get some of the waitresses that come up, do her job, and they literally knock your socks off. They got it done. It's a great service. It was okay. I get that. That's worth paying for. Okay, so the last thing about my robot on the trip thing. Do you tip a robot? I don't know. Do you tip a robot? Brings you your food, doesn't talk shit, doesn't say nothing besides it does its job. What would I rather have? I'd rather have the robot. If it means this Gen Y is going to, excellent choice, sir. Because I don't get that from the robot. And they never take a vacation. They're never sick. They're always working. All they need is a recharge. Firmware update once in a while. How's that for a win 0.5? A 0.5 win. But these these Gen Ys, you gotta just like think of where did they get their learning from? Because they ain't the learning I learned. Now for the final Gen Y, okay, hold your socks on. These Gen Y people, they want to go out and they want to make you feel comfortable, and I get it as part of the job. You're all done with the program. You had a wonderful lunch, Gen Yers. Your bill is $47.92. It's a little expensive lunch, but hey, it's $50. You give them a $100 bill. I don't believe they looked at the money. They might have scanned it as they got sent to them in the invoice, and they look at you and say, do you want change with this? What kind of question is that? Well, I talked to a friend in the family who does this type of work, and she looked at me and says, well, I would never assume that this tip is mine or the rest of the money is mine. I says, I know that. That's why you would stop and not ask them that and bring them change. And I looked at this gal that I met, $50 worth of lunch, and I says, well, I handed you $100. It's a $50 bill. You damn right I want my change. Oh, like, no, I'm the a-hole for looking for $50 back. I'll give the tip based upon what did she do? How did she perform? If she was miserable and didn't want to do her job and you could see her attitude and all this stuff, I'm tipping pretty light. You have to knock your socks off to tip for me pretty heavy. And you got to be that person that just really does their job. Do you want change with that? No, I like paying 200% of what I actually bought, so I didn't have to go out and make my own lunch. And I see a lot of this in these, these brewery type places. These Gen Y brewery, man bun, open toe sandal, hemp wearing t-shirt. You know, those kind of people. But I don't know what it is for a gal, but that's what the dudes wear. And they think they're all hipster, and they got the full beard, and they haven't moved an axe in their life, and they got the lumberjack shirt on, which, of course, is made of hemp. Yeah. What do you think these people are doing? Do you want change with that? Damn, Skippy, I want change with that. Every time. Stop asking. So if it's $50 and I give you $60, I guess that question would make sense. But how do you have the time to measure and to count how much I gave you? It's pretty clear when I hand you a Benjamin and it's a $50 lunch and you have the audacity to ask me if I want change. Yeah, I want my change. You don't get to decide that for me. There is nothing on this planet that I'm going to let you do to decide, do you want my change? Oh, I'll just ask. Just go ahead and take $150. Hold on. Oh boy. So that's the lunch versions of all my trips, my endeavors. And then when I come back, I mean, we're about 15 minutes in this show. It's going to be a light show today. I'm going to tell you some of the places that are out there for you to see. Hands down, gotta visit. There are just so many cool places. So for Headcast, stand by. We'll be right back.
Need a quick, healthy boost to start your day? Try Superfuel. Superfuel by Casmo is loaded with vitamins and healthy ingredients that will give you a quick, healthy boost. Make Superfuel a great tasting, low-calorie addition to your daily regimen. Order Superfuel at www.superfuel.me or call 833-FUEL-X12, FUEL-X12, or 833-383-5912. Super Fuel.
Welcome back to Hudcast. Hudcast, like I said in previous sessions, is going to tell you about what's cool out in the world. There's some pretty neat things. Very, very cool things. We started our trip in western Nebraska, eastern Iowa, where we stayed at a campground there that was just, end of season. Kind of closed. Their pools are offline. This is like October, late September. And the areas are starting to, get set up for winter. Their summer help is gone. And whatever, they're just kind of zoning down, at least in the Midwest. Not an issue down south, not an issue southern borders, not an issue any place other than Midwest to Canadian border. They got to shut down. They can't run their water. It freezes. So we do a lot of the KOAs. KOAs are they have a great network. And mind you, KOA is not a sponsor for this show. Not yet. KOA, if you're listening, give me a holler. Hudcast.com, Buzzsprout. And you have these visits, these connection points. So we travel in an RV. And the RV has a 30 amp, a 50 amp. It has water and sewer. So basically, when you're at a campsite, you plug in your house, and you enjoyed everything from home on the road. But what you get for some of these KOAs is the atmosphere, the places around them, the culture in which you have stopped. Now, what's in Nebraska? A lot of corn, whole lot of corn, dried up corn this time of year. But because it was after the school season, we had something that was very, very precious, and that was silence. We had silence at a KOA. You don't get silence at a KOA normally. You get plastic wheels and loud kids and snot noses crying and the whole kid thing. And if that's your gig, dude, it's your gig. I don't care. But this trip was a little different. This trip gave us a little bit of peace, a little bit of solitude, and solace in knowing that the next place we stop, even though it was a KOA, was more about the old folks. We looked around. Hey, we're not old. Oh, yes, we are. We're old. We're gray hairs. We're the old bastards in the rig driving around. That's who we were. I'm okay with it. So this first stop, their culture, their claim to fame was like a lakeside area, a spot where you had a couple of beaches hooked to the KOA. Really, really awesome. It was a great gig. You plugged in, you walked your puppy, you go and you seen what was out in the area there. They had all kinds of neat stuff. Again, no plastic wheels, no screaming kids. Just you, your rig, your spouse, and you had a great time with just that. And you looked around and you seen the same people having the same issues. They're big rigs, they pull in, older couples. Nobody was hooting and hollering, no one was drunken up. And I've been to some KOAs where they drunk it up. And not even some KOAs. We have a lot of other independent KOAs that are, if you ain't 2 sheets to the wind, you're nobody. And that we didn't fit into there. We didn't care. We didn't have to fit into there. So Eastern Nebraska, KOA, did a great job. Off season, prices were the same. We didn't get no discount. But hey, they probably got to charge more because you're only getting half as many visitors. Then we start trucking towards, Wyoming. Western Wyoming, eastern Nebraska. Nebraska's a pretty long state. What I did notice is that this time of year, which we didn't normally have, is a lot of wind. We had wind coming out of the southwest. I don't know if it's another typhoon coming in, a tropical storm. I don't know. Man, it was nasty. We were 40, 50 mile an hour winds. And when you're driving a big rig, it's pushing you around like cheese in a bad habit. It's pushing you big time. So we fought that. We're lucky to get 4 or 5 miles per gallon because we know we're doing 65, 70. And afraid that as soon as that wind lets up, guess what? Your wheels already turned to try and compensate the wind. You bounce in the next lane. Oh, yeah, it was a handful. They got old fast. But we had some nice KOAs out there, too. It was a wonderful spot to be. We had a Sunrise Golden Campground and Storage, I think it was. That was not a KOA. So I found it on an app we call RV Parky. And she says, let's try this place. Reviews showed good. We stopped in there. What a diamond in the rough. You get time to go someplace. And that was in Hot Springs, Nebraska. What an excellent place to be. Beautiful sunset, beautiful sunrise, clean campground. Oh, yeah. We could easily spend a week there. But, these guys, this is their life. They live this every day. We see this once a year for a trip. But we'll post some of that stuff on the Hutcast Hatebook site, and you look at the pictures yourself. You tell me what you like. You tell me if it makes sense, as it did to me. Get that moment of solitude, peace. Sit back. We could even adopted a cat while we were there because there was one little dark cat. I don't know what it was. It was it. Just loved to hang around. We were feeding it, so that kind of blew it for us. Oh yeah, the wife loved him. Fell in love. I went, nope, we're not getting a cat. You want a cat? Go borrow somebody's. You'll be done with it soon enough. Sunrise Campground and Storage, unbelievable place. Again, sometimes you find these diamonds in the rough. Now we've never had a KOA like that. They're more of a culture thing, where this is more of a land thing. This is more of a environment thing, big time. Camp guys came around, got your stuff. They picked your stuff up in the morning. They supplied you with doggy bags. They were just the right group. So that's why I said not everything is a KOA thing for us. It's just a place to go because it's on the network and it's easy to get. But RV Parky. So if you guys are out and about and you want to find some place to be, download the app on Google Play, check it out. And I'll tell you another thing about when you're traveling. We belong to this group of RVers on Hatebook, of course, and they have an app for fuel buying. Now, if anybody drives around and they drive a big rig, they know that fuel can add up pretty fast. So we got a thing called Open Roads, the TDS or EFS website credit card. It's a fuel card. That's all it is. And this fuel card saves you about 50 cents a gallon average. Now, you're popping 100 gallons. That's some real money after a trip. So it will tell you on a geo map, it'll say, okay, here's your location, here's everybody around you. You got to go to certain fuel stations, and here's how they kind of do it. It's a company that buys bulk amounts of fuel from these places. They're on a fuel buying program. They say, great, this fuel buying program can make you 50 cents a gallon less than retail if you spend or buy this much from your group. Well, the buying group spends X amount of dollars, which now brings their gross profits down, but more because you actually get their business. So they're buying in bulk. This bulk number gets pushed into a total. This total gets kicked back to you. You link this card to a credit card or another checking card. Checking card says, okay, you got a fuel buy here. They take the buy. They take a 10% hit. So if you spend $1,000, they take $100 and you pay 50 cents a gallon on average less for fuel. Huh. Pretty good when you're doing the long distance tripping and you got a 100-gallon fuel tank. Might want to think that over. Open Roads. I think it's openroads.com. Again, they are not sponsors of the show yet. Open Roads, if you do want to sponsor in, give us a holler. Podcast.com. And we can talk about sponsorship. But today, we're just having I'm just a user. I'm an end user of this. Quite unique, quite cool. Something you want to kind of do. And again, it's part of the RV company that makes our RV our coach. They have these Hatebook sites, and you all get in there, and every one of them who has this card absolutely love it. They're hands down, it's the only thing they use. And I think it's a trucker thing too. EFS Truckers Association. I don't even know what the group of there is, but again, Open Roads is the company that provides this, and it's basically just a fuel card. So don't think you're going to go out and go shopping free. And if you had that, what would be the point? You don't save money on Smarties and beer. You save money on fuel and DEF besides. I don't know what the DEF savings was for your diesel coach. DEF is kind of a thing. It's $4 a gallon, and so it's pretty close to what you pay for diesel. Personally, I think DEF's a waste of time. I think a lot of the emissions, the SCRs on these trucks are a waste of time. That's kind of where that's going, and I'm not starting that conversation. But yeah, pay attention to the EFS groups, the buying groups, the fuel groups. We have not added up our totals yet. We have not got all their statements in, but I'm it's going to be on average 50 cents a gallon, and we blew through 3,800 miles, so 4,000 miles at sometimes 4, sometimes 10 miles per gallon, depending on the wind. Again, that wind was a butt kicker going west this time of year. What else is cool? Okay, all right. So we went into Sturgis, South Dakota. We went into Deadwood, South Dakota. So Sturgis and Deadwood. And then we were at Silvertown. There was a lot of cool places out there, but let's start with Deadwood. Back when I got into camping, Deadwood was a great place to be. You're in a valley. Deadwood's kind of nestled up against the mountain range, the eastern mountain range. And then there's a creek, and the road goes next to the creek. Kind of a neat thing. Back then, you could take your RV and drive anywhere, park your rig, go have lunch, and do what you want to do. Today, not so much. Today is more of a commercialized. They've put Main Street on a used to be type of thing. It's already history, which it wasn't history when it was. Well, I guess it was history when we were going 25 years ago. But history is more of a. Okay, this is what like the Old West. You had the saloons, you had the gold, the Black Hills gold. Everything was kind of a thing. But now that Gen Y is kind of pushing some buttons, you have weed bars, the cannabis bars. You have the head shops. We used to call them head shops. I don't know what they're called now, but they sell paraphernalia so that you can smoke your weed or whatever you do with that stuff. and they kind of quasi-socialized Deadwood. And it's hard to describe. It's a place that you'd want to go to see, and then you get there and say, why did I want to come see this? At least that was for us. You know, you get a chance to take your rig down there or your car or whatever you're doing and check it out for yourself. But beware, it's not what it used to be. There's zero parking. Their only campground now is in a horse arena where you sit in a parking lot and you plug in, and I went, well, we ain't staying here. Even though we paid for it, I'm not staying there. It was just blah. And you're fighting a lot of hills getting in and out of there. So it's not like you just walk in and say, hey, you know, level land, let's get it. You're fighting hills. You're doing 7-10% grades on the way into that place. So it's real mountains. It wasn't worth the fight. It wasn't worth the fight to be there. So will we go back? Probably not in our lifetime. We'll find other places to go. But now we go to Sturgis, South Dakota. Oh yeah, Sturgis, South Dakota. What a cool spot. Now, we were not there during bike week. Kind of not our thing. We don't want to have the bike thing, you know, the drunks. And we don't get off on listening and watching drunks and bar fights. And it's not our thing. But it was cool. Again, off season. Not many places were open. You had parking everywhere. Wonderful restaurants everywhere. Bars/restaurants. It was just, like I said, hands down, it's the time of year to go. It wasn't 5,000 degrees outside, so your bus is overheating. You know, there's a lot of wins and loses in this, but it was hard to describe once you got to that point what and how cool it was. You could walk down Main Street. You had a spot to put your bus. Just really neat stuff. One in particular that we visited it while we were in the bike capital of the world without a bike was the Knuckle Saloon. Now, the Knuckle Saloon is nestled between, well, it's a whole city block long. So, I mean, it's huge. And you got the campground on the hill, which is to the west of us, east of us. And you're kind of on the secondary Main Street over by the Harley-Davidson Tribute to Veterans Memorial. And we walk into this place, and we were buying some trinket stuff. We're being souvenir shoppers for our people at home. And in the center, they have this rally point. I suppose it's where all the drunks get on a fake horse, and they spin it around. I don't know what they do when they're during bike week, but they're doing something there. And they had this bar with lovely lunches there that we thought, okay, well, let's just walk around and see what we got. So the Knuckle Saloon offered more than one kitchen and more than one place to eat. We went to the west side of it on that block by the Harley-Davidson thing, and they made a smoked brisket that'll knock your socks off. And I'm kind of a smoking kind of guy. This thing was tender. You didn't need a knife to cut it. It was put it on a fork, and you could, oh, wow. The smoke was wonderful. They could use a nice, brisket burnt, but not burnt. But it's, you know, it's kind of it was kind of the stuff. And I use a really good mesquite wood when I cook mine. So they had something else kind of going on, and I'd like to steal that recipe from them someday. Again, that was called the Knuckle Saloon. And it was, they're on the 931, the First Avenue of Sturgis. It was just a great lunch. And then we visited that Sunrise Ridge Campground. That was a great spot. And then we drove into the Rapid City Hills KOA. Again, back to another KOA. They did a wonderful job. It was just fantastic. So I guess I'm saying, people, is, a lot of people fly. I'm not the flying guy unless I'm doing the flying. And a lot of people drive. And you miss out on a lot of great spots. You might think it's just boring humdrum A to B to C until you get there and you're going, yeah, you can't get this. You can't get the robots. You can't get the Knuckle Saloons. You can't get the KOAs, the culture, the feeling of being when you're in these areas. So take a road trip, plan one, put some fuel in it, get a fuel card, the EFS fuel card, the Open Roads fuel card. Check it out. Enjoy what this country has to offer. Because at this rate, there's a lot of this country that's going to be like way not offering things because we have some weird stuff going on in our political realm. I don't know if it'll ever go away, but try and take it, right? I think we had an episode about the Boogaloo Boys or the One Percenters. I think we had that episode a couple episodes ago where, this patriot decided to do his gig. And he's hung out for 20 years. Don't let this happen to our country. It's too good for that. It's too nice. Well, I don't want to spin you around in a backwards gig here, but go explore. Go check it out. There's a whole world out there. And we went to a science museum or a space SAC. A SAC Air Command, a Space and Time Museum. It was awesome. Talk about some neat stuff. That was in western Nebraska as well. And I've been to the Andrews Air Force Base. I've been to Dulles. I've been to a lot of them. But this one here, just driving up to it, the building looked awesome. It commanded the respect that it deserves and gets. That Air Museum, man, I'll tell you what. It was the coolest stuff ever. I don't know if you're kind of that guy that enjoys space museums. I'm a sucker for that. And boy, it was worth the money. It was the right deal. So when you get a chance, and you get that chance, and you want to go to Western Lincoln, Nebraska, and I think they call it the Strategic Air Command and Aerospace Museum. Let's see here. They're not sponsors, so don't get me wrong. 28210 West Parkway, Ashland, Nebraska. Spend the money. Go check it out. Even the bathrooms had a time, space theme to it. Hands down, cool. You step back in time. You're up against the planes. You're up against the equipment. You're not 20 feet away from it going, oh, it looks good. You're actually up by these things, touching them. And you got this closeness, this texture to the outside skin of the plane, the capsules for the Apollo missions. Nobody touched the SR-71 because that was kind of hanging in the lobby. Now, that's how big this place is. You got an SR-71, full bird, full build, hanging out in the lobby. Suspended like you would a kid from a model in your room. That's what it looked like. Yeah, we were suckers. We bought stuff. We bought some really cool stuff for the grandkids. Oh, yeah. We pissed it away. But, hey, where else can you do this? Because when you're dead and gone, you don't get a second chance. It was that cool. So check out that space museum. Again, Strategic Air Command and Aerospace. Hands down, cool stuff. And I think that's kind of like Western. Oh, I'm looking at my Google trip lines. Kearney Campground. It was just, I don't want to miss anything because it was that exciting. Sunrise, we got that one out. The KOAs, Black Hills, Belvedere. That was one of our last stops. Belvedere KOA. Oh, Al's Oasis. That's where the robot was. Al's Oasis. Now that is in 1000 East South Dakota Highway 16 in Okama, South Dakota. Okama. That's where that robot was, which I'm going to be pasting on my Hutcast. You'll see the little interview I did with the guy, the food coming out, the thing going back. How about some cool, neat stuff? And Sioux Falls did that one. And that wrapped us up for that. Duffy's Bar and Grill. Yeah, it was kind of a real great gig. All right, Hutcast. Wanted to reflect. Wanted to try out some new stuff. We're going to be playing with some new software today. You tell me what you think of the format. Hit me on the Hatebook page. And, of course, keep those messages coming and going. It's been a couple weeks. I just want to catch up with everybody and let them know what's going on. I did have some really good doctors lined up for today. They got busy. Of course, when we just get back into town, it's hard for me to schedule. And like our last one, Dr. Kearney, and those guys they're on task. So I'd like to hear more from them. Maybe we can learn something. Have a wonderful Sunday. 10/8/2023. Podcast always appreciates you tuning in. Be well, people. Until next time. And that's a wrap for Hutcast. Hutcast is, again, a pragmatic approach to seeing things how some people see them. If you like our show, give us a thumbs up on the Facebook site. Again, for Hutcast, thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.